Imagine it's 2019. You're a 58-year-old high school mathematics teacher in Columbus, Ohio. Your name is Eleanor. You have taught for 31 years. Every single paycheck, a portion disappeared into the pension fund, into the promise. The promise was specific. At 62, you would receive $3,400 per month, guaranteed. For life, it said so in the letter from the Ohio State Teachers Retirement System. Your benefit is secure. Your retirement is protected. You did the math. $3,400 per month, $40,800 per year. Enough to cover your mortgage, utilities, modest needs. Comfortable, dignified. The reward for 31 years of service to children who needed someone to explain why numbers matter. In 2023, you receive a different letter. It informs you that your projected benefit has been recalculated. The new figure is $2,190 per month. The letter explains this in technical language. It means the promise has been quietly reduced by $510 per month, $6,120 per year, for the rest of your life. You did not miss a payment. You did not make a mistake. The mathematics simply became impossible to ignore. Somewhere in the fine print, the promise was never quite what it appeared to be. A beginning, not a trap. This is not Eleanor's story alone. This is the story of every pension system in the modern world. Once you understand the arithmetic that makes every pension promise fragile, you will never read another benefit statement the same way again. Before we examine the mechanism, we need to understand what a pension actually is. Not what it feels like, what it is. A pension is not a savings account. This distinction is critical and almost universally misunderstood. When you contribute, your money does not go into a box with your name on it. It does not sit there accumulating interest. Your money goes into a collective pool, managed by trustees, invested in markets, and used to pay current retirees. This is a defined benefit system. It contains a structural assumption so fragile it has collapsed in virtually every country. The assumption is this: the number of active workers contributing will always be sufficient to fund benefits. This requires three things. First, the workforce must continue growing, or at minimum remain stable. Second, investment returns must meet the actuarial projections used to calculate benefit promises. Third, retirees must not live significantly longer than mortality tables predicted when promises were made. In 1950, these assumptions were reasonable. The post-war baby boom created an enormous workforce. The mathematics worked. Promises made in that environment were sustainable. But promises don't expire when the environment changes. They persist, they compound, they become politically untouchable. And the environment changed, making every assumption false. The workforce did not keep growing proportionally. In 1950, there were 16 active workers for every retiree. By 1960, that ratio fell to 5 to 1. By 2020, it was 2.8 to 1. By 2035, projected to be 2.1 to 1. Each worker supports a larger share of retiree benefits, not due to redesign, but because demographic reality shifted. Investment returns did not consistently meet actuarial projections. Most public pension funds use 7 to 7.5% annually. This figure is not conservative. It makes the math work on paper. Reducing it to 6% doubles unfunded liability. If reduced to 5%, unfunded liabilities become so large, no politically feasible contribution rate could close the gap. The assumed return is not a prediction. It is a hope embedded in accounting. When that hope goes unmet, the gap widens silently. Life expectancy increased dramatically. A retiree in 1950 expected to collect for 13 years. Today, a retiree expects to collect for 19 to 21 years. That's 50% more payments. The system was not priced for 50% more payments. The promise was based on mortality tables that no longer describe reality. They were wrong. Not negligently wrong, but wrong because the future does not cooperate with models built from the past. Now here's where it becomes legally complex, in a way most pension holders have never been told. In 1960, the U.S. Supreme Court decided Fleming versus Nestor. Ephraim Nestor paid into Social Security for 19 years. He was deported for past membership in the Communist Party. The government terminated his Social Security benefits. He sued, arguing his contributions created a contractual right. The Supreme Court ruled against him. The majority opinion stated workers have no contractual right to Social Security benefits. Congress can alter or eliminate benefits. Contributions create a political expectation, not a legal guarantee. This ruling has never been overturned. It remains the legal foundation of the relationship between American workers and government pension promises. The promise in your benefit statement is not a contract. It is a current policy, changeable by future legislatures. This is not theoretical. It has happened repeatedly. In 2013, Detroit filed for bankruptcy. The city's pension funds were underfunded by $3.5 billion. Retirees received reductions. Some saw cost of living adjustments eliminated, health benefits terminated. These were people who worked for decades. The documentation was not a guarantee. It was an intention. When the mathematics became impossible, the intention was revised. In 2016, Puerto Rico's government debt crisis forced pension cuts affecting hundreds of thousands. In Illinois, the pension system has an unfunded liability exceeding $200 billion, $50,000 for every household. The Illinois Constitution protects pension benefits, yet the gap grows because protection does not create money. The protection is legal. The mathematics is indifferent to legality. These stages repeat with uncomfortable consistency, revealing the inherent fragility of these systems. Stage 1 is the promise. The benefits are calculated using overly optimistic assumptions. Assumed returns are set high to make the math work on paper, while contribution rates are kept low for political acceptance. This promise is then widely communicated, creating a sense of security for many. Stage 2 is the accumulation. For years, sometimes decades, the system appears to function smoothly. Benefits are paid and statements are reassuring. Politicians take credit for generous benefits. They often overlook the structural fragility hidden beneath the surface. Stage 3 is the gap. Investment returns, underperform assumptions, and demographics shift. The gap between assets and liabilities widens. Actuaries note the shortfall in technical reports. However, these reports receive limited public attention, often buried in jargon. Stage 4 is the crisis. The gap becomes too large to conceal or defer any longer. A fiscal stress event, like a recession or market crash, forces the gap into public view. Emergency measures are announced, benefit reductions, contribution increases, retirement age adjustments. Measures once politically impossible become inevitable during the crisis. Stage 5 is the revision. The promise is restructured, not eliminated. New hires receive less generous terms. Existing retirees see cost of living adjustments reduced or frozen. Healthcare benefits are modified. The nominal benefit may remain, but its real value erodes. The promise technically survives, but its purchasing power does not. Eleanor's story is stage 4 approaching stage 5. She's a mathematics teacher. The 510 monthly reduction she received is not the end of her story. It's the beginning of a revision process that will continue as long as the actuarial gap remains. The actuarial gap in the Ohio State teachers' retirement system, like most public pension systems, is widening. Now, consider the broader picture. The United States has approximately $4 trillion in state and local government pension liabilities. Independent analysts estimate the true unfunded liability at $5 to $6 trillion. Social Security faces a separate structural challenge. Its trust fund is projected to be exhausted by 2033. At that point, incoming payroll taxes would cover only 77% of scheduled benefits. A 23% automatic benefit reduction would occur unless Congress acts. Congress will almost certainly act, but the options involve benefit reductions, retirement age increases, or tax increases. There's no option that delivers currently scheduled benefits without significant modification. This is not a political statement, it is arithmetic. The Social Security trustees publish this annually. Almost no one reads these reports. Most assume the promise is solid because it always has been. This assumption, that past performance guarantees future delivery, is precisely what every pension crisis has exposed as false. In the United Kingdom, the state pension system faces similar long-term structural pressure. Japan, with its aged population, requires dramatically higher contributions or reduced benefits. In Germany, contribution rates have risen steadily as the worker-to-retiree ratio deteriorates. France's pension reform triggered social unrest because mathematics require changes resisted by political culture. This is not a uniquely American problem. It's a structural feature of defined benefit systems. The analysis must be precise and honest. Some things are certain, others uncertain. The structure creating pension fragility is documented. Demographic trends are measured and projected. Actuarial gaps are calculated and published, though in specialist language. What's uncertain is the timing and magnitude. Systems have survived longer than critics predicted. Political systems have found ways to defer the reckoning, raising rates or modifying formulas. Investment returns have occasionally exceeded projections, but the road is visibly shorter. This uncertainty means Eleanor's pension system will probably deliver something. The question is what that something will be, and if it will be sufficient for her plans. The $3,400 per month promised may deliver $2,390 or $2,400 or something else. She does not know, she cannot know. This is the cruelest aspect of the pension promise. It's specific enough to plan around, but not legally enforceable enough to guarantee. Eleanor built a life around a number that was always, in legal terms, an estimate. Those who navigated pension uncertainty best treated it as one component of a broader financial structure. German industrialists survived Weimar by not depending on a single institutional promise. Argentine professionals preserved wealth through the 2001 crisis by maintaining resources outside the formal system. This isn't advice to abandon pension contributions. Employer matches and tax advantages are compelling. It's an observation about concentration of risk. Eleanor's plan has one load-bearing wall, the pension promise. If that wall weakens, everything built on it is exposed, as actuarial reports suggest. A plan with multiple load-bearing walls distributes the load, preventing catastrophic failure. This is what survivors of every pension crisis had in common: distribution of dependency. They didn't bet everything on a single institutional promise. The promise was always an estimate. Those who knew this early had time to build around it. Those who knew only when the letter arrived, like Eleanor, had less time, fewer options, and a smaller margin between the life they planned and the life mathematics would permit. This is historical and educational analysis, not financial advice. Every pension situation is different. Funding ratios, legal protections, and political environments vary greatly. What does not vary is the underlying structure: demographic arithmetic, actuarial assumptions, legal precedent. The structure is consistent, the timing is uncertain. Most people live inside this promise. They were never shown the fine print, never taught to read the system, trusting an institution, whose own published reports tell a more complicated story than its annual reassurance letters suggest. Eleanor, a mathematics teacher, understands numbers, but she didn't understand this number until the letter arrived. The question is whether you see it while there's still time to build around it, or only after the revision has already been made. Subscribe to Collapse Historian. Because the actuarial reports are already written, most people just aren't reading them.